Okay, welcome or welcome back to my channel. This is Woven Existence. I am Megan, and I'm doing a Serendipitous deck card read today, which you probably would have seen from the title at this stage, but it is one that I have found while I was in Edinburgh, so it is skipping the queue of the ones that, not that I was doing in order, I have no idea what order I found them in. That'll be cool to know. But I found a card last time I was at Edinburgh, which was a Queen of Hearts, and like I've only been there that time for 2 days, and then this time for like 10 days, and then found cards, and it's not a place that I was living, and I just think that's so cool. Anyway, this one I thought was a Knight of Cups or a Knight of Hearts because of the two horses and the hearts. And then I realized in wiping some of the dirt away that they're actually drinking out of like little cocktails. So there's literally 2 cups or 2 glasses on this card, meaning that it's a different card than the energy that I thought that it was, right? And Knight is sort of like there's movement, there's energy shifting, maybe even a message, but most likely kind of more of a manifestation that's actually coming in when it's in regards to like emotional fulfillment or something in the heart area and region because of it being cups. And I went on for a few weeks being like, interesting, that's the energy that has found me at this time. And then in a second closer look, it's actually a 2 of Cups, which is about like alignment and not a dissimilar message in ways. But usually the 2 of Cups is like a soulmate card or alignment within 2 parts of your own self that have to do with not necessarily even emotional fulfillment, but your emotional side. And like, no, we'll get into what it said. I won't speak for the card itself, right? So, well, that's literally what I'm doing, but like in its own words. So first, there wasn't that much sensory stuff with this one, so it was squishy, like fresh dirt, which someone would have to come along and like sprinkle grass seeds on again, because the dirt has like been walked on so much that there isn't really something going to grow on that too much. But it's because of the path that I found it on, it just felt very like that's the kind of clay that you could like pick up and squish and be very satisfying to do so, and it has a really strong fertile smell. And so that was something that came through. And then I tried to feel like where in my body, without it being like a heart based or cup based thing. And I did feel a little connection to like my feet, which I think has to do with the Pisces season that we're in, and also which rules the feet, and the dirt, and like a grounded kind of connection to it. Also, okay, is there like the card is so satisfying because it's the thickest one I have. It's the strongest one because it's like I think a room card, like a boop key card, for someone's hotel room. And there's something really stable about that, which again comes up in the message later. But actually the area that it kind of connected to the most was like my whole chest. Like it wasn't heart chakra or anything. It was more like this kind of thing where I almost wanted to stand up or sit up straighter as I was feeling it, because it like filled my chest. It made it easier to like lift here, have my chin parallel to the ground, kind of pride and strength and stuff. Okay. And then the message that came out with it. Oh yeah, hold this up a little in case the imagery is helpful, just for a moment. Yes, love can really happen. And yes, to you. And yes, it stays. And then there was a feeling of like a heavy or sore heart that this is being addressed to. Hopeful heart, yet careful. This moment, this does feel less like a timeless read specifically, but I'll allow it to land with you however it does, whenever it is you find this, and that's up to you. This moment is bringing up past loves all the way back to your first. There is an unearthing of all of the experiences before now. This is a reminder to not get too lost in looking deep into them. Because what comes next doesn't look anything like them. Or that, not the people, the scenarios. It doesn't even feel like that. What it feels like is full. It's simple, even though everything isn't always easy. There is simplicity. Clarity. And then I had this feeling of like someone hearing this and then this like, how will I know it's the right person kind of worry coming up. So I hear questions which are fears creating, like fears based on the past, rightly so. They're creating doubts in your ability possibly to discern what's right for you, particularly when it comes to matters of the heart, because it doesn't always have to do with specifically love. Like so many things are connected to our heart space and the things that matter to us and our passions. And this can even branch out into, I'm interrupting it, but I've found this myself, it can branch out into business matters, because when something is the thing that matters to you most and it's close to your heart, a cause, anything, and then you've had an experience with that ends up in hurt, in pain, in disappointment, etc., it can be like the world is really good at talking about, well, kind of good at, but like it's easier understood that someone's had a breakup or whatever. But then when like a business doesn't go the way that someone needs it to go for them to actually be able to depend on it for income, that's not necessarily treated the same as far as like the care that we then give to that person as a society, but that can hurt. So be aware and give space to yourself in those scenarios. So fears that are possibly creating doubts in your ability to discern what is right, what is wrong, what to decide for yourself. But here's the thing, and it's simple. Believe what you feel. Believe what you hear. Believe what you see. Believe what you encounter in any scenario with like another entity, with something you're dealing with another person. And past peering into the future, you are not a detective. This is something a therapist said to me once. You're not the FBI agent that is trying to figure out their next move and stuff. That's not your job. What you have to do is listen to how things are landing with you. Listen to their actions, listen to their words, listen to the way that they show up versus their words, etc., right? You are responsible for your heart and yourself. If you aren't able to tell your friends or people close to you everything about this person or scenario out of fear of judgment, because the eyes that, like care for you wouldn't want to hear this being happen, then they're not for you. That's probably not the right choice. That's a really good tell. And it feels like something people know, but still something that needed said. So it's right in there in the message. Two of Cups is a celebration of duality, of your emotional side as well. Actually, before I move on here, does it need clarifying? I felt it while I was writing that, where I'm like, okay, if you're not able to tell certain friends in your life about, okay, I'll speak from personal example because it'll just be easier, but there was someone that I dated like, 2019, years ago, and I hid things that he'd say to me, things that he did from very close friends of mine, people that knew me really, really well, because I knew that they would judge me for staying with him, which was my fear. But like mostly they would have been probably judging him and then speaking up for me to me. But then that meant that I would have to see a truth that I was not ready to see yet. And that in itself leads in a kind of a circle of, if you're the right kind of person, which I was at the time, to be codependent, etc., now you're isolating yourself from those friends and like placing more trust in this person that does not have your best interest in mind. And like in that scenario, that's very obvious, but also I could see how people are like, well, these people aren't as close to me, and like, whatever is this relationship that I'm in, etc. Even so, if it's not something that you want to say out loud and acknowledge to people, whether you think that they care about you or not, it's something to be like observant of, and I'll leave it at that. Okay. Two of Cups is a celebration of the duality of our emotional side too. You are in a relationship with yourself first before anyone else. And celebrating all parts and spectrums of you within is key, no matter what is taking place in outer relationships or in your outer world. Oh yeah. It's like, what is this sentence? Okay, heart on your horn made me laugh. It comes back up again later in the message. It was like, it took a second to clarify. Can you see in, I don't know if it's gonna like focus, that on the, actually they're unicorns. I don't know, I've been saying horses. Oh my god, and the unicorn is like the symbol of, that makes sense, it's on this. It was an Edinburgh key card. It's the national animal, I think, of Scotland. How badass that country, that I said the word badass there, it just didn't fully come out, is that country that they picked a mystical animal for their, like, I love it so much there. Anyway, so there's a heart on the unicorn's corn or horn. Anyway, spike. Either who. The fact that it's up there, like, it looks pierced. It reminds me of the Three of Swords card. Doesn't necessarily look like a happy scenario, but at the same time, it could also be seen as like a heart on your sleeve kind of a vibe. But if you had a horn to stick it on, that feels like a euphemism. Then wouldn't it be up there possibly? So when I was considering that, then I got this message come through of like, you do not need to bend over backwards to be found. Like, do not be trying this hard. And that's not supposed to be as judgmental as it probably just sounded. While staying, I will most likely just be like a very honest channel and reader, so you know that by now if you're sticking around, and welcome if it is your first one. This is usually the way that it goes. I end up being a lot more straightforward than is possibly what some people need, but also that's who I am. So while staying open to opportunities is a part that you play in finding connection, in being in this world, in being in a place of like post-healing, because sometimes we need to hide and like isolate and keep things covered and hidden and boundaries. But then when you start to open up again, it's like, okay, hey, I can be here. I can be like participating in the world in a little bit more open of a way. And it's a very prideful moment because you have been through a fucking ton to get yourself back to a place of being that brave. So be aware of that and do not take it for granted. So while staying open to opportunities is a part of you, a part you play in connection. Don't betray your own boundaries to be found or to be seen. You already glow. Actually, I'll read it as it says. You glow. And you resonate at the frequency of your own energy, which is a beaming light to those who vibrate at the same frequency. So you don't need to be, again, I'll just read what it says. You are being found, and see this for yourself, because you are currently being found by people, right? This is not something that is like, you will be found. You are being found. The camera's probably shaking. I'm sorry. So see this for yourself. This is a practice now. Have you felt or seen your own glow lately? Maybe you need to shut your eyes to do it. Maybe looking down at your body helps. But what colors come to mind for you when you turn your seeking gaze inward? And know this color. And maybe it changes with your mood, with day to day, and it's not even necessarily your aura. Maybe that is something that you are seeing or reading in that moment, but the color that comes to you first, that makes you feel the most at home when you're viewing your energetic being that is housed in this like physical form that is the human body, like it can take up so much space. more space than our physical form can, in a sense, but also, like, this is loud as fuck. This is, like, seeable to all of the other beings that are here also in human form. And you don't even have to dress it loudly, but you being most in your authentic self, most aligned with your highest good, most proud of who it is your inner child is and living that truth, that is loud energetically. And it glows, maybe not as a color, maybe as like a spectrum on a grayscale, maybe as whatever it is that vibes with you and home and like feeling the most you. Only the worthy deserve that steady and strong-willed, where's the rest of this, stream of love that you have to share. This is why you have these boundaries in the first place, the ones that you have worked on. You have been practicing them, and you are a fierce servant and protector of your own heart, of your inner child specifically, and you are aligned with your higher self. Do not feel discouragement, because even though it may not be visible right now, love is here. It is with you. Future you is there. And now you has only to be loyal to you, to your path, to your future. Don't consider another until there is a definitive other to consider. And even then, do not leave your own side. And this is where the heart on the horn made sense. Don't put your heart on the end of a lance and then run forward. Sit in the damn throne and wait for the offers. This makes sense because I've seen A Knight's Tale, but that's the image that I got. Okay. So that's the message from this card. There's an extended part of this that I'll go into now. 8s. Yes. Okay. This is the other thing about how sturdy this was. There's something ridiculously comforting about this. Like, not to be so weaponry based today, but like it honestly feels like I could throw it. This feels like something I've seen in a movie. It doesn't matter which movie. Okay. Maybe Now You See Me. I can't remember. But you could throw it and it would be like a little weapon. But it's also like, because it's just filled with so much love and like power, because of the power that I have given it in seeing its value with my serendipitous deck that is oh my god. Serendipitous deck, hello. That I've been collecting. Like, I'm so curious of why that was a slip that I've just made, because like there's always a reason. Anyway, it feels like a protective little force, if that makes sense. Also, this horse kind of looks, unicorn, sorry, it looks like it's winking. Like there's sort of a, oh my god, what's it called? She-Ra, that reboot kind of vibe from it. Okay, so the other part to this was the fact that there was kind of like a duality, yes, because there's a 2 in it, but there's like almost the shape of sort of an 8, or like connecting circles with the shape that they've drawn for the back here. Yet they're like mirrors of each other, which reminded me of just like alternate universes or alternate timelines, things of that nature. And it reminded me of this thing that I've been like mulling over for quite a while. I don't remember when I actually started enacting it, because it is a bit more of like personal anecdote, but also like necessary thought to all of this somehow. Okay. My name was decided via the flip of a coin. And then later on in life, I learned about alternate universes being created. Like, any choice that we make all choices are made in, like, what is it, in quantum, the theories of quantum physics or whatever, like, because there are multiple choices laid out in front of one, all choices are made in different realities. Therefore, they lead to different paths. And the whys to all of that never really, like, it just is what is, right? And if you flip a coin, then you are like purposely creating a scenario in which it lands on both sides. Pretty sure I got this from the community episode where that happened, but like in all of this, like it made me stop flipping coins because I was like, why am I creating extra realities? Like, isn't that kind of like, if there's offshoots from my current reality that I'm creating, does it like weaken the line that I'm in? And this card brought back this idea, but in a way of like, the universe is limitless and it wants. There's so many of us continuously being here, so many versions of us, so much individuality because the universe is continuing its like self-expression through literally any which way that it wants to exist through itself and experience life in a human form. And that's why it seems like, I don't know, the more we learn about each other, that humans are crazy and unpredictable and all of this, like all of this has pretty much been going on the whole time in one way, shape, or form, but now we have a lot more connection and information about each other. So it's cool because it means that we're at this stage where not only is the collective as like one organism, but individual versions of that organism, experiencing all the versions of life that it possibly can, and like just doing the experience part, it's now also able to self-observe all of that and reflect and learn from it. And where does that lead us? Where does it lead any one person when they start to reflect and hold a mirror up, as it were, to the way that they're living, to what it is that they're doing in general, the actions that they're taking, the words they're saying, how it is that it's affecting other people? Like, all of that is so much more available to a lot of us because of like the internet being a thing, but then also social media coming after that, and then the kind of like different versions of social media that are created within that. Like, it's all just different ways that our self-expression can be observed by ourselves, by the collective, and like it also isn't even done with all of the people that are currently in our 3D reality as it stands. Because each and every single one of us, like non-humans included, have alternate paths that have been taken that are in alternate realities, that are in other timelines, etc. And like that expansion continues always. Like, it's hungry for that. And so flipping a coin every once in a while isn't taking from the timeline you're on, it's adding to the experience of the universe as it is trying to grow and understand itself in expansion continuously. I don't know where that's headed. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's headed to like heaven on earth, but like that's because Earth is kind of the easiest thing for me to consider as far as a to-do list or a focused goal to like change, etc. Because I don't know what the problems are in other realities and other planets and other things, but I can see the ones that we have here, and it has a fuckload to do with self-acceptance, self-love, self-hatred, putting it outwards, not dealing with your own emotions, like the emotional state of humanity. And that then being based on what human form you've been born into, and then how that's dealt with, and then also the culture that you're born. Like, there's so many levels to it, but what I see is a massive like gap in the whole self-acceptance part, which is why there's such a massive call for that right now, which is also a beautiful thing that therapy is getting more and more normalized, because that's like a beginning. That's the beginning of change of that. But then what comes after we are all self-accepting, emotionally intelligent humans? What does the world look like then? Are we satisfied without there being something to solve? All questions for maybe another time. But yeah, that's what else this card brought. So eights kind of made sense because it's got like sort of an 8 shape, and 8's a very abundance focused and like self internal inner power number. And as much as community is the focus of Pluto and Aquarius, and big time where we're going to be drawing our energy from over the next like few decades, as we move away from the current societal structures that have been built out of the mindsets we were in. To be a part of a community, one needs to be kind of like quite honest with themselves, aware of who they are. And yeah, it is about leaning on other people and being there to be lent on, but we also have to then, in that scenario, to do that with like, what's the word I'm looking for? Respect to ourselves as individuals. Because this era of individualization, while people see it as like a ploy of those above to divide us and it's a symptom of capitalism, and none of those things are incorrect. That is absolutely truth. But there's a reason the universe is moving through that as us, has been moving through that as us. It sought to understand itself in complete isolation. What does that look like? And then, once I know myself in complete isolation, what does a community look like when we bring fully whole people together rather than people who have only ever known to lean on each other and don't have certain boundaries and certain individualized understandings of themselves? And we're in the midst of like an overlapping moment of a lot of people kind of wanting for community and yet never having been really raised in one. And so how do I actually be a part of that? And do I even want to be a part of that? Because like I know life so well on my own and as an individual or in my own individual unit sort of a thing. And like, you know, it's not like a whole bunch of trust has been fostered left, right, and center across the entire planet. And how do we work on that together? Which I think is a little bit too big for any one person to decide, like, oh, I trust the world. That's a lot. Maybe there's a bit too many of us to know each other that well, and that's okay to not trust and, like, have an understanding of all other humans, etc. But I think it's more about, like, a localized version of that, but because we are still grappling with the fact that our reach in a virtual way is worldwide, it's like we can learn about humans, but maybe it's about also, bringing the focus more local because that is easier to comprehend as far as actually fostering trust and fostering like, how do I show up here in a way that honors what it is that I can bring to the table and it's not bringing or asking too much of me, and how do I ask of others what it is need? All the questions. Okay. Oh god, like it's that sound. It's whatever satisfaction people get from having one of those metal credit cards that they drop down. Like, I feel rich with this in my hand. I'm so massively grateful for this deck with an E. Okay, I think I will leave it at that for today. Thank you so much for being here. I think that's all. Bye.